Hello, please confirm that you can hear me. You can drop a chat.
Hello
Okay,
everyone.
that's okay. Over to you.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the session. And for today's, we have with us Victoria. Uh, she will be speaking about the topic building no code using SharePoint. So I hope everyone, those who are having problem in entering the meet, that is solved right now. So sorry for the technical glitch, and we hope that now everything is sorted. And yeah, so I hope everyone is ready now, and everyone has joined the session. If someone wants to get their friends right now, so please do. And I hope everyone can hear us right now. Over to you, Victoria. Welcome to the session, and I hope uh, now everything is sorted.
Yes, it is. Thank you. All right, thank you everyone for joining today's session. And just like the topic says, we'll be looking at building a low-code application from SharePoint. My name is Victoria. I'm a Microsoft's most valuable professional for business applications, a Microsoft certified professional, a Microsoft certified trainer, and a business applications developer. So what I basically do is automate business processes using the Microsoft Power Platform. So we're going to be talking about what Power Platform is today, and we're also going to be building a very simple application. You can connect to me on Twitter at VickyLala_ and on LinkedIn. Yeah, so we'll go over to the agenda for today. Firstly, what is Microsoft Power Platform? We're also going to be talking about the Power Platform components. We're going to be looking at SharePoint today. We'll have a demo session and we have time for everyone to ask their questions. I'll just dive in straight. So what is Microsoft Power Platform? Microsoft Power Platform is actually a low-code platform that allows organizations to analyze data, act on it through applications, and also automate business processes. So yes, it is a low-code, no-code platform that allows everyone, ranging from professionals to developers to frontline workers, to automate their processes, their day-to-day activities. And this would allow them focus on important activities, spend their time on doing more important things and having the repetitive processes to be automated. So we have these components of Power Platform and we'll be discussing them one after the other. The first of them is Power Apps. And yes, it is a platform that allows you to develop custom business applications with little or no code. You can integrate Power Apps with different services, connectors, data sources, and you can also, these data sources and connections can be within Office 365. Also, known as Microsoft 365 or outside Office 365. You can build amazingly friendly, user-friendly applications that can be on both mobile or the web view. And you can do this quickly. Examples of applications you can build with Power Apps includes the leave request management solution. You can also automate the process of expense management. And like we can see on the screen, this is the logo for Power Apps. You can have your applications on different layouts. You can have it on the mobile layout and on the web or tab layout. We'll move over to the next, that is Microsoft Power Automate. And yes, Power Automate was formerly called Microsoft Flow. And that's what we use to automate repetitive processes. Just like sending an email, you know that you send an email maybe at the beginning of every week to everyone in the organization to welcome them to the new week, rather than typing the email and sending it by yourself manually. You can have Power Automate Flow help you do this. And yes, you have more time to focus on important things within your business. By doing this, you would also be saving time and energy, as well as boosting business productivity. With little or no code approach, almost everyone can use the platform to automate their daily tasks. They can also send approval workflows and all that. So move over to the next one, and that is the Power BI. Yeah, Power BI is the oldest in the Microsoft Power Platform, and it is a business analytics tool that allows you to easily and quickly connect to different data sources. You can create reports, dashboards, and gain insights into your data. Yes, so Power BI is a business analytics tool, and we use it to analyze data and also have insights, gain insight to our business data. We will not be dwelling so much on Power BI and the other components today, because today we're going to be basically focusing on Power Apps. I'll move over to the next, which is Microsoft Power Virtual Agent. And yes, this is another fantastic platform. It is also a component of the Microsoft Power Platform. And it allows everyone, enables everyone to create powerful chatbots that engage conversationally with your customers and employees with no code graphical interface, without needing the help of a developer or data scientist. Yes, you can build chatbots, and these chatbots can be embedded to your customer sites. It can be embedded to your site, actually your website, and this would allow your engineers or your support personnel focus on other things and have simple or repetitive questions attended to and answered by the chatbot. So we use the Power Virtual Agent to build chatbots. The next is Power Pages, and this is the newest member of the Microsoft Power Platform family. Yes, it is a tool we use to create low-code websites. And yes, as you can see on the screen, you can develop your website with writing little or no code. It is a secure enterprise-grade low-code platform for creating, hosting, and administering modern external-facing business websites. So for Power Apps, Power applications can be used only within an organization. So it's basically for people, members of the organization. But there are some business processes you would want to automate, and you need external people to interface with that process. You can move that feature to the Power Pages. And yes, you'll be able to build beautiful designs, build and configure beautiful websites. We'll go to the next thing, the next component we are going to discuss today, and that's data connectors. So we've talked about Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents, but then there's supposed to be a communication between your application and data. If you build an application and you have to maybe send an email to somebody, how do you communicate with the tool that sends an email? We do this with the data connectors. So data connectors are proxies or wrappers around APIs. Some developers would understand how APIs work. Yeah, so it serves as a bridge where you can communicate with other services. And yeah, in the Power Platform, we have data connectors. We have a lot of them around Office 365, Microsoft 365, and outside Microsoft 365. For example, I need to send a tweet every Monday. I don't have to. So how do I communicate to Twitter? Yes, I have to consume Twitter's API. But because we are low-code developers, rather than looking at how to consume APIs and all that, you can actually use the data connectors. Data connectors has allowed you and allows us to connect to the API without having to do all the technical part of things. Yes, and the next thing we'll be talking about today is SharePoint. Remember, the topic for this session is building a low-code application from SharePoint. And SharePoint is actually a web-based collaborative platform that integrates with Microsoft Office. It was launched in 2001, and it is basically or primarily a document management solution. So we use the SharePoint to store documents. We have document libraries. We can sectionize our documents, categorize it based on the folders, and we can also control access, who has access to this particular document. And yes, aside SharePoint being a document management solution, we also use SharePoint to maintain or create our organization's intranet. So we can have an intranet portal rather that would store information more like an internal website in the organization. So people in the organization have quick links they need to attend to. They need to know who and who is in a department and all that. They need to access different documents in a department. You can have a website, an internal website, that's called the intranet, where people in the organization can interact. And one other thing, while we're discussing SharePoint today, because we're going to be using SharePoint as our data source to the simple application we're going to be building. Yeah, so SharePoint has what we call the SharePoint list. It's literally a table that has column and rows, and you can create the columns and rows. So you can connect your Power Apps to SharePoint as a data source, and this would help you store your data. So for example, I'm going to be building an application today. When I get the information from the users, where do I keep this information? You can keep it in SharePoint, you can keep it in SQL, you can keep it in Excel. But today we're going to be using SharePoint. I'm just going to go over to the use case of today. So a company in XYZ wants to create a mobile application for their employees to submit their daily tax reports. So as an employee, I need to give report of what I've done today. Yes, so we're going to build an application that will do that for us today. But before we go too deep, one of the things that we need to understand is that, okay, as an HR, that I need to know the information about what the employee has done today. What exactly do I need to know? What information do I need to get from the employee? So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And look at the chat board. So in the chat window, I want us to drop comments about the kind of information we'll be needing as the HR from the employee. Somebody is supposed to give report of what they have done today. So what information do you think they need? I have some, but I'm just going to wait for some people to drop theirs in the chat. I'm very sure we need the employee's name, because that's a very important thing. How do you get the person that submitted that? You need the employee's name. What other field do we need? Yeah, I'm just going to tell us. We need the employee's name. Somebody said employee list plan, employees department. Thank you for the engagement, employee designation. This is really, really important. Status of the task. Yeah, so we're going to go right away into building. Thank you all for giving this comment. So I'm going to share my screen. Staff ID number, yes. So I'm sharing my screen again. I want to say thank you for the comments. I can see everyone's comments. And this is what a SharePoint site looks like. We need to firstly create our database. So where would be submitting this data so that everybody can have access to it, and whatever information they fill in the form in the app would be stored in this place. So the first thing you need to do is create a SharePoint list, and that's what I just did. I clicked on list. I'm clicking on blank list. I need to give my list a name. So let's do employee tax report. Yes, I'll just untoggle this and give this in the description too. So I'll click on create. It's going to create a SharePoint list for me, and it has done that. The first thing we need to know is, okay, people have contributed. I can see comments. We need the employee's name or the employees. Yes, we need to know who is submitting that report. So we have different kinds of columns. We have different column type. This would also determine the kind of data the employee is going to submit. And if you notice, there's a default column that comes with the SharePoint list. And yes, this is it, the title column. Today, we are going to make it unrequired because it's always required. But before we go there, I just want to let us create the column. So the first thing we're doing is creating, we have different types of columns. We'll not be explaining all this today, but for employee name, I'm going to be using the person's column. I'll click next, and I'm just going to type employee name. So because this is a person column on SharePoint, and SharePoint is integrated with the organization's Office Active Directory. So this would allow you, or this is more like an object that would contain the name of the person, the department, the email of the person, the display name, and all that. So that's why we're using that. The next thing we're creating, aside the employee name, somebody said status of the tax. So I'm going to make that choice, and the status of the tax, status. So because it is a choice, I want them to select the status. So it can be in progress, so that they'll give me a report of that particular task, or it can be completed. So that's going to be our status. The next thing would be needing to know is the tax details. Yes. A second. The next thing we'll be needing to know is tax details. So I'm just going to, and I want them to type a lot of things. So I'm going to put a multi-line of text and do this, tax details. Another thing we need would be maybe hours, the number of hours that the person has spent on that tax. I'll make that a number column. Hours spent. And yes, I think that's basically what we need. This is like the important information we need. Like I said earlier, the employee name comes with the employee's department and all that. And I also said that there's a default title column that is required. So I'm going to make it not required. And to do that, I'll click on this settings icon. There's list settings. It will take me to this particular list settings. I'm going to look at the title column. So if you notice, the required is checked. I'm just going to click on title and make it require that this column contains information. No. I'll click OK, and that's done. So the next thing that we need to do is build our application. And because SharePoint as a data source is integrated with the Microsoft Power Apps, so you can build your application from this part. You can either decide to automate this process, or you would also build your application. So I'm going to be building our application from Power Apps. And because Power Apps is the medium we're using, all I have to do is click on this app checker icon, and it will take me to launch the, oh, I clicked on Power Automate. So it's going to launch, we need to launch the Power Apps. And we're going to be building an application, very simple. We're going to be building an application. Let's just use a blank app. That's faster. I'm going to create. Our application is going to be employee tax reports. And now let's use mobile. Let's use mobile view. And this would load. So while it's loading, it's literally creating, building the application for you. Our application can have a lot of features, but today we're just basically looking at building an application that will be connected to SharePoint. As an extended feature, you can have a notification sent to the employee's manager when the person submits a report, so that you would notify the manager, okay, Victoria submitted a tax report for today. So literally we are supposed to have like a landing page. So we're going to impute a button. We're not going to be doing a lot of designs today. So I'll just rename this button to continue. I'll rename this screen. to landing. And yes, that's like the first screen. When the user comes to the application, this is what the user would see. This is the first screen the user will see. But then when the user clicks on continue, what should happen? So in Power Apps, we write Excel-like functions. We call them the Power FX. That's what we use. That's like our programming language. And it's literally writing Excel-like functions. Very simple. So I know that when the user clicks on this button, the next thing should be the user should navigate or move to another screen. Move to a screen that has the form. So I'm just going to do navigate. There's a function called navigate. The next thing you are going to input is the name of the screen, and I'll close bracket. So it is as simple as that. That is why it is called a low-code, no-code platform. You write simple expressions, easy expressions. And okay, so I want it to go to another screen. And this is, I cannot make it go to this current screen. I'm going to add a new screen. Sorry. I'm going to add a new screen. So there are different types of screen. You can add a blank screen, or you can add a screen that is scrollable. You can add a form screen. You can add as many things as possible. But I'm going to be adding a blank screen so that I would see how this can be built. So I'll just rename this screen to new request screen. Now on this button, we're going back here to rename where we're navigating to. So we're going to navigate to the new request screen. Now, if I play my application, I click on this button, it is actually going to take me to the next screen, and it has. That's how building low-code application is. So yes, we want users to input data, but then when they fill a form, where should the form submit to? We need to connect this application to that SharePoint site, that SharePoint list that we have built. So I'm just going to click on this cylinder icon here, click on add data. So we have a lot of data sources we can add, but as SharePoint. So I'm going to click for SharePoint here. This is it. I'll select the connection. It will load. I know this is the site where I created it, and this is the SharePoint list employee tax report. So I'll do connect, and I have my data connected to this application. So now on this screen, we want users to fill a form. It's as simple as that. So I'll just search for form here. And we have different types of form. We have an edit form, a display form. So we're going to be selecting an edit form because we need them to be able to input something. Now, the next thing to do would be connect. It's as simple as that. Connect this form to a data source. Because we've connected the data source to our application, I'm just going to select this. And that is how it would load, and it would automatically input the form. So the earlier fields, the columns that were created here on our SharePoint list, is what would appear here on the form. Now, the first thing to do after you have added the form is to change the default mode. So when a user submits a form, or when a user comes to this screen, what should be the default form? Remember, we selected an edit form, so it makes the default mode automatically edit. When I play this guide to tell me no item to display, it is because this form is an edit form and is expecting you to connect to an already submitted data in the database. But no, we're going to change this to a new form. And now I'm going to play this. So if you notice, it automatically added all the columns, but there are some columns we don't need. We might not need an attachment column. We don't need this title column, so I'm going to remove it. Now, you can automatically allow the application to pick the user that is signed in, but we're not going to be doing that today because of time. So we're just going to search for, so because we selected a person's column, it shows the drop down of people in the organization. So I'm just going to pick Victoria, that's me. My status of the tax is in progress. My tax details is, let's do test. Hours spent. If you notice, remember that hours spent was a number column, but I'm trying to type and I'm typing text, it's not allowing me to type. That's one of the validation that is automatically done on Power Apps. So I'm just going to type 2 hours. And if I have an attachment, but I'm not going to attach anything. Now, the user has filled this form. You need a button to allow the user submit. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert a button. Oh, sorry, I was clicking. So I'm going to insert a button. The button is added there. I'm just going to put it somewhere below, change the text to submit. After the user has also submitted, we want to notify the user that, okay, this has been successfully submitted. So one other thing you are going to do is you are going to insert a success screen. Remember, I told you we have different types of screen. We have a success screen. So I'm going to insert this success screen. And we are almost done with building an application. So yes, one other important thing you need to know or need to add is the form. So we have some properties of a form, and one of them is the success. So when the user has successfully submitted this form, after the user has clicked submit and the form successfully submit, what should happen? How do we let our users know that the form has been submitted? What you have to do is just navigate them to the success screen. Sometimes you can have a modal that would pop up and show that this form has successfully submitted, but today we are going to be navigating them to the screen 3. I've not renamed it, so I'll just call it screen 3. And yes, that's it. We have our application set up. So I'm going to click play, click continue. We have all these fields because I just filled it. I don't want to attach any file. I'll click on submit and nothing has happened. Yes, it was intentional. So you did not say this button. We actually did not write the code for this button to submit anything. Now, like I said earlier on, we write Excel-like functions that would allow you to easily perform the actions you want to do. So I know that when my users click this button, I want them to submit everything that they fill there. So what I'm just going to type is submit form. Submit form, open bracket. One of the parameters submit form function. So these are functions that we write in the Power Platform. And at the beginning of the journey, you cannot know all the functions. What you need to know is what you're trying to implement. And we have the Microsoft documentation there to assist you and tell you the specific function for an action you want to carry. So I'm going to write submit form. If you notice, and one other important thing Power Apps has is the IntelliSense. So if you notice at the top of my screen, there is submit form. So it's telling me what parameter I should input here. So I'm just going to type submit form, the name of the form. We've not renamed our form. It is form 1. So I'm just doing submit form 1 and close this. Now I'll go back to play the application and click on submit. This was successfully submitted. Now let's check our database. Did we actually submit anything? I'm going to refresh this. And yes, the data that we typed in our application has been submitted to the SharePoint list. Like I said earlier, you can have different data sources. You can have your SQL, you can have your Excel, you can have custom data sources, or you can have Dataverse. So Dataverse is the database for the Microsoft Power Platform. We have successfully built an application and we have successfully submitted the data to the SharePoint list. I don't know if anyone has any question. I'm just going to stop sharing this so that we can reshare our slide. Sorry. Do we have questions? If we do, we can ask. Does anybody have any question? All right. So I've seen a question. How am I now going to deploy the application? So we're going to talk about that. So I'm seeing the next question. Please, can staff who does not have official email have access to the application? No. So the application is for people internal in the organization. If the organization decides to give a staff who does not have an official email address, you will have to get license for that user. the user is going to be added to your tenant as a guest user and you purchase license, but there's a limit to what a guest user can do. So to access applications, you need your official account. Can anybody build the app or you have to be an admin? So as long as you have the rights in the organization, we have different access, different Office 365 licenses. Some Office 365 license have Power Apps license seeded with it. So if you have the license, you can build the application. I can see another question. What of adding images to the form like passport photograph? Yes, this is possible, but we'll not be going into that today. I want to make sure I'm not missing any question. Is the app done online only? Yes. So Power Apps is a web application. You build your application online. I don't know if I've answered, but you can have offline features for users that would use the application, but you have to build it online. Yes, you can access it through your phone. There's an application called the Microsoft Power Apps on Play Store and Apple Store, and you can download. So when you download, you sign in with your Office credentials, you see access to the applications you have access to. So can the collected data be extracted afterwards to either a CSV or else? Yes. So I'm going to share my screen now so that will show us that. I'll stop sharing the slide. And I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share that web page so that we can see for ourselves. If a user doesn't fill a particular field, will it submit to the form? Yes, it would submit if that particular field is not required. But sometimes there's some information we need the user to submit. And just like we make some fields required on forms, we can make it required on the form, and we'll see how that is done. So I'm sharing my screen now. And so for the person that asked, you can export this data to CSV or to Excel. And if I do this, it's going to download the Excel format of this data for me. Someone asked, how do other people get access to this application? I omitted that. So to do that, you would firstly save your application. After that is saved, you will publish. So saving the application is saved so that you can come back later to add other functionalities. But to have people see the updated edit you have done, you have to publish. So I'm going to publish this application. And after publishing, the next thing is to share. So before anyone can have access to your application, you have to share the application with them. Now, there are two ways. You can either share depending on what you want. If you want everybody to have access to the application in your organization, all you have to do is, if you notice here, you can see enter a name, email address, or everyone. So you would type everyone in the organization. Once you type everyone, it will bring everyone in the organization. So when I click that, it would share this application with everybody in that particular organization. I can also untoggle the send an email notification to invite users. But then sometimes you want to share with specific individual. So let's assume I have an individual in this organization. Yeah, I'm going to share with this individual. To share with this individual, I can also decide, okay, is this individual a developer like me? Does this individual want to make edits? To do that, you have to give the user an edit right, and you have to select this by doing a co-owner. So when I toggle this, it will share the application with this user and the person becomes a co-owner. But when you are sharing with everybody in the organization, they don't have to edit the app. So I'm just going to click on share. And this user is going to get an email saying Victoria has shared an application with you. You can now click on it to edit. So I don't know if there are still questions. I'm just going to check the chat window. So are there any other questions? I'm seeing that we've answered basically all the questions. Do we have other questions? Please, if I've not answered your question, you can actually respond to that particular question or you ask again. I'm just going to reshare the slide. We are currently on question and answer. So yeah. Do we have more questions? So the app will locally be installed on a phone? No. So we have the Power Apps, Microsoft Power Apps. Well, that's what you're installing. You're not installing this particular application. You're installing the Microsoft Power Apps. And with Microsoft Power Apps, when you launch the application and sign in with your Office credentials, you would have access to every application that you have the user rights or edit rights. And when you click on it, you are launching the application that we've just built. For example, employee tax report. Can the developed app be downloaded or published? No. So the application developed cannot be published to Play Store. Yeah, I saw a comment saying, thank you so much. I didn't think it would be this simple. Yeah, that is why it is called a low-code, no-code platform. This is to allow people that are not core developers, yes, we call them the citizen developers, to automate business processes rather than us waiting for the developers when these things can be done by people that are not pro developers. Aside sharing directly with a particular user, can the app be packaged and shared on a site like Play Store? No, it cannot. Will you be able to save entire data offline where the staff are? Yes. So there is something we call the offline feature in Power Apps. Sometimes the user might not have access to internet at that time, but the developer building the application has to include the offline features, offline capacities. So when a developer is building the application and he knows that the user has to input the data in places where remote areas where there are no internet, the developer is going to include and also add the offline feature to the application. I don't know if we have any other question. Is it possible to add the app on the website or an email to obtain external data? So the application can be embedded to SharePoint intranet, but the application can be embedded to SharePoint intranet, but when you say adding it to external websites, we talked about this at the beginning of the conversation. To get external people use your application, you might actually have to build that feature or functionality in Power Pages. So Power Apps is for, I don't want to say it's strictly for internal users, but it is for internal users. You can extend and allow external people interface with your application, but then it is for internal users. So I'm trying to check the chat window to see if there are other questions. Is it possible to add the app? Okay, I'm going to share my Instagram. So are there any other questions? Or we can call it a day. Yes, I think that's all. I would say thank you for joining today's session. You can connect with me on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on Twitter. You can also reach out to me if you have questions. I'm always available to answer.
Thank you, Victoria, for such a wonderful session. I hope the audience get to learn a lot from this session, and do connect with her on her social media handle. And if you have any doubts, then feel free to ask right now. And I'll be sharing the attendance link soon. So with using attendance link, you can fill out, and then you will get the certificate. And do reach out to her, Victoria, if you do reach out to Victoria if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Bye, everyone.
I have shared the attendance link in the chat box and I have pinned the message. Do fill out that attendance link and that you don't miss the certificate. We will be sending the certificate soon. And yeah, in order to get the certificate, you have to fill out the attendance form. That's mandatory. And yeah, and I have shared my screen. I hope my screen is visible. Yeah, you can scan this QR code to join our community. This is our if you are not if you haven't joined us on WhatsApp, then please do join us on WhatsApp. And I've also shared a QR code in this slide for our Discord, so do join our community over Discord. And this session, the recording of this session will be available on our YouTube channel, Styva. I'll share the link as well. And from that session, from the YouTube channel, uh, you can see the recording of this session. So this is our YouTube channel. I have shared the link, and if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, then do join it. Then do subscribe it. Subscribe to us on YouTube so that you can see the recording. And if anyone has any doubt, then feel free to ask right now. in order to get the slides, then do fill out the attendance form, and we will be sharing the slides over to you over the mail, so so that you can have it. And do join us on our WhatsApp group and Discord server, and we'll see if we can share the slides over there as well. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining today's session. I hope you learned a lot, and do follow us on our social media handles. Do join us on our community portal like Discord and WhatsApp group. And I hope you had a great learning experience. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel. The recording will be uploaded over there. And yeah, thank you so much everyone once again for joining.